Hey folks, welcome to the stream. We are running a little late. The World Cup, etc. lasted a little bit longer than expected today, and if any of you guys watched it, let me know in the comments what you thought. And without further ado, we are going to look at some problems which I have spotted regarding the menu system. Now, I don't know if these are like legacy problems or problems that were introduced by my partner in crime who may or may not have changed some of the code here. So what I have done is basically been checking the code, and where I have found it to be slightly different, I am going back and checking the original asset with zero changes. Okay, I have also been doing a little bit of beautifying of the menu. We've been adding in our little buttons and backgrounds to the text and to the buttons and all that nice stuff. Okay, but one of the major issues is, I shall show you here, this back button, right? And this is how I know there's an issue. It's not been the only issue, but I knew there was a problem with this, and I needed to take a look at it. Okay, so when I look at the code here, I see back to menu. Okay, so when we hit that back button, we go back to the menu. Now, if you guys know anything about the options, especially, there's three here. There's the resolution, the window mode, and if it's native mode. Okay, now if any of you guys have done any work with those in the slightest, you will know that you basically need some code in there, right, that handles when you're changing it, because it obviously changes the resolution and what mode you're in regarding what screen size you're using and stuff like that. And you sometimes have to exit the game for it to actually take effect. Okay, so I can show you why I knew there was kind of a problem. Okay, if I run this in standalone mode, okay, we don't want to do that. I don't know why it did that. What's it doing here? Where's this new map coming from? Okay, we're going to close that down for now. I do have another project open on my other screen. Now, I don't know what that's got to do with anything at the moment, but I'm going to open this back up. Right. Oh, that was the wrong map, guys. Sorry about that. That was actually the map from that asset and not the one I was wanting to look at. It's because I haven't opened the map. That's what it is. Even more stupid, right? So that is the widget. That is not the level, right? What we want is to open this level, right? Now that should be it opened. And now if we go in standalone mode, let me show you why I know this isn't quite right. Now this asset doesn't give us the option to change to full screen or to change the display mode to native, etc. right? But what we can do is, if we look at graphics, right, and then we change this, right? Now this was one change I had to make because this wasn't actually functioning. But if I try to change it to that, normally in most other menu systems and the ones I've done, I'll keep these separate from like the view distance. All of these sort of Unreal Engine settings, you don't really need to worry about them, right? Because they basically get set when you change them, okay? But if I do that, it should immediately try and change the resolution, right? Which it didn't. So that's why I knew there's an issue, okay? So, with that in mind, right, I'm going to stop it. And then I'm going to show you how I went about finding out why we had a problem. Now, if we go to the event graph, we can see here that this says back to menu, okay? But if we look at our other project, right, and I show you this one, it does not say back to menu. It says check for changes and return to menu, which sounds more reasonable, right? Now the thing about it is, if I double click on that, you'll see there's quite a lot of code going on there, okay? But we're going to move this again back to off screen for you guys. If I check this one, there's not an awful lot going on, right? This is basically setting options, highlighting a selection, saving the user settings, and callback, and that's it, okay? So that is not the same, rather obviously. Now the question here is, does this have the function called check it does not have this function called check for changes and return to menu, okay? Now what I'm going to have to do here is copy this one, right, over, and it appears that this No, that seems okay. So that's just a function there. So what we're going to do is we're going to say function check for changes and return to menu. Okay. Now this is where things are going to get interesting, because I'm going to copy this code and I'm going to paste it in here. And I have literally no idea if this is going to compile or not. Now it looks to me that this is a function in one of the function libraries. Blueprint, either macro library or function library. Right, so I don't think it's going to find this. Otherwise, not 100% sure what it's going to do. Right. So we've got one problem here, and that is this variable doesn't exist. And where is it, is the question. It's in here. Okay. Now this one has got this is slightly different, right? So we're going to add this one in. So we're going to say wants to return to menu, and that's going to be a bool, and it's going to go in what was it? Gameplay. Was it in gameplay options? I don't think so. Wants to return to menu. Right, so it's not in there. So the question is, where is that set? And it looks to me like it's not even in here. It's in gameplay options, right? Oh, I'm looking in the wrong place here, guys. What an idiot. Right, it's in navigation. So this should actually be in a category called navigation. Okay. And we've now copied all that, right? So I'm sorry I wasn't watching any screen, so if any of you were talking to me, which you weren't, I can now check this. Ben Thatcher music, even mate, been watching past your nights. How's the project going? Hi Ben Thatcher, first. Music. I take it you're a music boffin or something like that. It's going good. I am fixing up errors that have either happened due to my partner changing an asset, which he claims he didn't, and I've no reason not to believe him, to be honest, or the version of the asset he used has been updated quite a lot. But that doesn't make sense either. Because these things wouldn't exist in either version. Right? So, that kind of doesn't make any sense, but we're having to roll with it, okay? So, this, we do that, and then this, we check I can't remember what this is called now. It's something to do menu. I'm probably going to have to do that. We can just go up to the function and drag that in. Right now, I don't know if all the proper things are getting set for this to actually make any difference at this point. But we can try it and find out. And what are you working on, Ben Thatcher? If you don't mind me asking, have you got a project on the go at the moment, or are you trying to learn Unreal Engine, or what's the story? Okay, so we'll test this out. Right, so you can see I've beautified this a bit by putting buttons in the right thing and blah de blah. Right, and putting a background on this and stuff like that. It isn't quite right yet, but it looks a lot better than it did, put it that way. So we're going to change this, and then we're going to probably watch it break. And if we hit back now, that's what I expected, you see? This is what I expected. Yes. Right, now, I don't know if that did anything. But it should have taken us back to the main menu. Right? So, that's not right. Obviously. But the interesting thing is here, we need to find out if this is actually saved. So if I just close that down, and then we run it again, oh, that sounds very, very interesting. It's something that I've not really done a lot with. I know you can do a lot more with sound than I do in Unreal Engine. It's a whole other topic, basically. So it has set it, which is good. Right? Now, I don't know if it has actually set it. right? If I go to that, I don't know if our current resolution is correct. But, you see, the thing is that this isn't going back after I say apply, right? Which kind of scares me. And what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to go to our controller, right? And I'm going to event ticket because I'm like that, right? I'm going to do a print string, right? And what I want to do is get the current resolution, right? I might need to do this from the game settings. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick a get on the front of this. Alright, let's cut it down a bit. Get in pixels. Get desktop. That should be interesting. We can do... We're going to do that, right? And I'm just going to plug in there. I know it's an endpoint, but I don't care. Right, and I'm going to say user settings. Right, so we'll do that, and we'll do that. Okay. That goes in there, then we'll check that. Mamora, hi, my first time in your stream, how's it going? What's this hammering in the background? I don't know, it's my next door neighbour suddenly decided, I'm running a bit late, I would normally stream from 2 to 4 Central, but I've been watching the World Cup, so that's kind of thrown me a bit, and basically I think the guy next door was watching the World Cup too, because as soon as the game finished between Argentina and the Netherlands, he started drilling and hammering. Right, so there is our current, okay? And that's crap. Right, so if I set this to there, and I play back, I'm not in the States, but I'm in that time zone. Right, so if I do back and apply the changes, it has applied the changes. Right? So basically, that should be right. I still don't like it, it's not going back, right? I think the resolution, well, it's not changing the resolution, right? Or at least I don't think it is. basically what it's doing is it's just basically setting it in the game settings, and it's not applying the resolution, right? Okay, so we're going to have a look at that. And we're going to have to look at, right, I'm going to show you guys, right? We set it to 1920 by 1080, okay? So where does it keep that? Well, if we look and we go to save games, right? And then we go back to our folder here, and then we go to config, and we go to default game and open it up, right? This should give us an idea. I think it's here. I could be wrong. Well, I'm wrong on this one. It's not in the game settings. It must be in default engine. Or maybe it's not. Not necessarily not. It depends. A lot of it depends. You can, if you're doing stuff with materials, it happens on the graphics card. So like particle systems and stuff like that can be shoved off to the graphics card. But it really depends on what your game entails, right? If you've got a lot of complicated behaviors going on, then that doesn't impact the graphics card, right? If you've got a lot of heavy material based textured models, then a lot of it will be done on both, right? It just depends, but the thing about it is that you want to test on as slow a machine as possible, but you want to develop on as fast a machine as possible. Because if you're running a beast machine and developing on it, right, that's going to give you a skewed appraisal of how it's going to actually run on the average person's PC, right? Now, you're obviously, if somebody's got the same specs as you, then obviously they should get the same performance. But you've got to remember as well, a lot of it depends on the hard drive, right? Because more these days, your limitation isn't your graphics card or your CPU. A lot of it's based on being able to get the textures into your processor and graphics card as fast as possible. So some of it is going to end up being bottlenecked there, right? So there isn't a simple answer to that question. Right, it looks to me again, right, that I've picked the wrong one, right, and it looks to me now that, now, I think it must be this one, but no, it's not. I didn't think it was that one. So is it default engine? I It can't be default engine. And it can't be default editor either. Right, for some reason I've forgotten about this, but there's one of these config files that is basically, when you set it up, it basically has like your last good resolutions and stuff, and this is where it basically pulls it from, right? Now I don't seem to see it anywhere. I might need to check another one for this, but it's definitely not transition math, two splitter, which reminds me, I'm going to have to add Steam to this as well. Right, so it's not that one. Is it default input? Yeah, but that's what I would have expected, that, you know, the thumbstick stuff and crap like that. FOV, doobie-doo. Right, so it's not that one either. So which one is it? Or is this a special one that I've forgotten where it's kept? Or is it because it's not saving it? Is that the problem? It's not saving it, so basically it's not actually doing it. Okay, I'm going to have to check another... Right, I'm going to have to check another project for this. Right, so bear with me 2 seconds, folks. And we shall check. In if my brain starts working, that is. Right. Right. We'll check Chronicles, right? Config. Right, we know it's kinda not that one. Right. Right, I'm bewildered here. I am absolutely bewildered. Online subsystems. physics, which right, I'm staggered. Right, because I know for a fact that there's one that tells you, like, at the last good version of a resolution that it has used. Right, now I'm going to have to do this off screen because I know I've got a project that definitely does have it, but right, so okay, so it's not that. You see, you think you can go back and remember everything about everything, but you can't. You always forget something. And it's not there either. And I don't think it's this one. Nope. Okay, well. I think I'm going to have to Google this. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. Right, resolution. Game settings. UE4 config. Right, so I'm having a look through this to find out which one. Right. And as usual, right, so it's a game user, it's a game user game settings file UE4. Interesting. Right, so it appears to be default engine, even though that doesn't seem to be the case. Right, that's navigation. We had to look at that. Right, maybe I'm just being incredibly stupid here. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But there is definitely it's something like this, but it isn't this one, right? I know this says 1920 by 1080, but that's not the one we're looking for here. But there is definitely a config file, right? Is it in here? No, I don't. No, it's not in there. Right, we're going to forget it for now. Right? But we're not loading. I think we're going to ask one more question of Google. Where are the... That's not what I wanted. I keep leaning on keys. Where are resolution settings stored UE4? It says default engine. Right, so I was looking in the right place, but for whatever reason, okay. So it says default engine. I'm not buying it, because if it is, it should be here. Right, now if that's the case, I should be able to do a search on this, right, for resolution, and it can't find it. Okay, so that ain't it. I have done this before. I do recognise it. It's definitely in the config files, but for some reason it's just not wanting to play ball at all. And it doesn't seem to have written them down anywhere either. So I don't really know what's going on with that. But anyway, so basically when we do that, it's going to give us 1280, right? Which is fine. Now, this resolution thing isn't really going to be viewable but what we can do is go back here 1920 by 1080, then back, apply changes, yes, and it changes this. So it has changed this this get user settings, right? But it looks like if I stop this, we weren't running it standalone, idiot. And we're losing. So if we run it standalone, right? We go back to there, 1270, right? Go to options, graphics, right? Apply the changes, and it goes to 1920. Okay, so it's obviously not getting or not setting a resolution. Okay, it's writing it into here. Okay, so it's picking it up from the game settings, but it's not applying it. Okay, but we still have the same issue. And we need to check our options panel. Right, we need to come here. And we know that it does this. And then we know that we're applying these settings. Okay. So it's doing apply changes. So we need to find this widget, open it up, and then basically see what it's going to do. Alright, so we're going to add a breakpoint here. We're going to press play. Now, I don't think this is going to break, but we can run it in the window and see what it does anyway. Because it's not important what we see if it's doing it. The most important thing is that it actually does it, right? So if I say back, yes, it's not going to break, which is fine. So we're going to run it here. And this is confirm action. And I'm not really 100% sure how that's working, but we'll go with it. Because that is a message interface. So I'm guessing that this has a confirm, or actually this is going to be probably an event dispatcher. Yeah. So I'm guessing that our options panel is probably going to have bind event confirmed graphical right. So I am not 100% sure on this one at all. Right, so we'll click there, and it did nothing. Okay, so we'll do that again. Doing nothing. Right, we'll do it again. We'll change this. Now it's doing something. We'll resume that. Right, we shall say that. Then we get our confirm action. So we shall step into, step over, then into, and here's our things here, which is in our options panel, which is confirm graphics settings changes. Right, so step over that, then we step into that. Then we're going to have a look at this. Right, but this is in apply graphic settings. Right, so I really want to have a look at this. Right, so it gets those settings, and these are our current settings. Wow, wait a minute, this doesn't seem right. Okay, if you're enjoying the stream, guys, hit the like and subscribe. I shall be back in a minute. I'm going to go and grab a cigarette. I shall be right back. Don't go anywhere. Back in a second. Okay guys, we're back. Right, so what we need to do is see what's going on here when we run this. Right, it says it's applying the resolution. It's setting the screen resolution, so it says. Right, but we want to see if it's actually doing this. Right now, I'm not keen on this. So we'll tidy that up a bit. Okay, so basically what it's doing is it's checking these two to see which one, if it's any different from the current. The new resolution is different from this. Right? I don't know why that's got an output pin on it. That's just got a true false basically, but it doesn't do anything. Right, so press play. Options, graphics, do that, goes back, that's fine. Options, graphics, change it, back, right, we get our widget, we apply, we resume, right, we come in here, step over, now at this point we should have this graphics settings. Okay, then we resume again, now we're into your screen resolution, right? Now, is this going to be true or is it going to be false? It's going to be true, and we're going to set it to this new resolution. Now, the interesting thing here is we're not setting it to I don't think we're saving it. Right, because all this does is apply. Although having said that, apply doesn't save. Save applies and saves, but apply, no sorry, save only saves. Apply saves and applies. Right, I'm going to stop that there and I'm going to check another project, but I'm going to have to close down another project in the meantime. And what I'm going to do here is, just as a joke, what I'm going to do, or just as a little test, I'm going to set the window mode. Alright, but apparently I can't do it there. Oh. It's probably not. Apply. Apply non-resolution settings. It's not that. Well, this is weird. Right, let me just open that other project and we'll find out for there. Ah, wait a minute. In the meantime, right, could apply. Ah, it comes off of there, of course. Right, so we need to do this. Apply resolution settings. So what they're doing there is they're just setting the resolution, right, but they're not applying it. So basically, if I do that, right, and that's the new resolution. Okay. So in theory, I've got to run it on standalone, right? This is the resolution is the little sticky one. The three these change, right, are the sticky ones, because basically what happens Right, so if we go to 2.6, this one, right, and we say apply changes, notice, guys, bam, right? You'll notice right away everything changes. Okay, so that was changing it. Okay, but it looks like the asset is not changing, is not applying what it's getting from the game. Okay, so I'm going to believe I'm going to close that for now, right? Then I'm going to go back into my MMPC. And I'm going to plug this back in, right? I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to see what it says from the game settings. Now, I wouldn't be surprised at this point if it actually said 1920 by 1080. Okay? But it doesn't. Right? For some reason, this game settings is not pulling the 1920 by 1080. Right? And it's not saving the game settings. Okay? And that is an issue. Now, that's okay. But we need to go back to here. And it is applying the settings. I'll tell you what we'll do. What we'll do is we'll say save settings as well, right? And we'll pop this on the end. But I think it is saving it. Okay? I'll show you why. I think it's just not applying it when we actually load up the game. I think that's the problem. Okay? Because let's have a look, right? It says 1280, right? 1280 by 720. Now, if I go into the options and I click on graphics, it's 1280 by 7, that, right? Now, if I apply that, we get our resolution change, okay? And now we should be able to go back. Notice that this has now reset. Okay, so I'm going to do that again. It looks like what's happening is that it's actually jumping back to the original setting, but I'm not going to give it the chance this time. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this completely. Right, things have went a bit wonky. Right, where is our... It's went over to the other screen. Right, so weird things are afoot. And this is why it's really difficult to work on the resolutions and stuff, especially if you've got a weird setup, like 2 screens, both different sizes, different resolutions. This makes it a nightmare. Right, but fundamentally, now, if I press play, right, it's saying we're at this resolution, right, but it's done it again. It's went back. Right, and this is another reason why we hate frickin' assets. Close that down as well. Back. You see, we've applied the changes, right, but it won't let me go back. Not that it really matters. Right? So what I'm going to do is, this is on the wrong screen again, and I think I'm going to give this a miss in a second, because this is just not the thing to stream when you're having these issues with crazy resolution issues. Right? And I wonder, if Reso... Go resolution. So I wonder if there's a save. There's just a save settings. Right? Now, the interesting thing here would be if I go into here, right, and on begin play, get game settings, right, and then resolution, right, then apply, wait a minute, yeah, so in theory we should just be able to do that, right, and there you go. Right, but I'm thinking that our resolution is pretty crap. But if we actually maximize this, you'll notice that it is a lot clearer, right? And if I take that a step further and go full resolution, then that is going to be at basically is max resolution, right? Now, in theory, if I start this again, it should be at the right resolution, right? And it is, you see? So that's what it was. It wasn't, the problem wasn't the fact that it wasn't saving or anything. It was the fact that it was never setting it to the right resolution when you came back into the game. It would basically just set it to whatever the default was in Unreal Engine. Right? And as you can see, everything's went a bit mad. But we've got two problems here. Number one, it keeps doing this. And if we apply the changes, then it basically goes back to the way it was, which we obviously don't want, right? And that is that, and that is our main window, and we're not going to piss about that any longer for now, but at least we know the issue, right? I'm going to check on the way. I believe that's actually now working, right? If we go to the designer, right, this is the box here, so what we can do is we've got this overlay here. We can wrap it with a border. Okay, we don't want to do that. We can wrap this with border. Right. Then we get ourselves a Viking styly one. And this one is, it's pretty big, isn't it? Let's have a look at that. Right, we don't want it like that. I think we could maybe go for this one. Or yeah, probably more like this one. Right, let's have a look at it if we do it like that. That would seem to be a very nice. Yeah. Yeah, that looks good. Alright, we can get this text. And it's going to be that font. Then we can get that one and that one. And these are in bold, so we can go with that one. Okay. And the next thing we can do is we can take a quick look at this without screwing things up. Oh, okay, I've just screwed things up. Alright, because this is going to do its crazy thing again. Or maybe not. Or maybe yes. Well, anyway, and since we're doing this, we may as well just carry on. Right, so we can just change that back. There we get the apply changes with the thing around plus or yes and no. Okay. And this doesn't really work either. So we're going to have to alt tab out of it. And get out of that. Okay. And if we change it back to selected viewport, yeah, that looks okay. We could pick another frame with something inside it, but so if we do it from here, it's not going to change the. It's not going to change it, right? Now, interestingly enough, it does go to 1920 there. I don't know why it stopped there. Oh yeah, it's because I've got the breakpoints in. But yeah. So that's fine. Back. The interesting thing now is either way, when we go to the back button, it's not that one. Initialize gameplay settings, it's not that one either. It's actually right, it's this one here. Right, so when we come back, we need this, right? So it's this here. And then we stop this here, paste it. Now, say it's 1920 by 1080 now. We'll do that, back, apply, right? If we step into, step over, step into, and here we get our stuff. Right, so if we just resume this, we're going to get disable that. That doesn't actually apply the resolution, that actually just sets the resolution, but anyway, or at least it did until I changed it. So resume. And resume, and we go back, right? So we're gradually fixing out our asset here. It's not ideal by a long way, but at least we've got it kind of working. And we've also updated our like messagey box thing. So if we change it back, and apply, yes, we are, you'll notice here that our user settings are now 1920 by 1080. Okay. And you can see here that we're getting our 920 by 1080 here. Right, so that's all working fine. All right. And that's me trying to talk to you guys. So that's all fine. We have basically fixed that, even though it's not, I'm not going to say it's a particularly, what's the word I'm looking for here? Oh, I can't think of the word now. Graceful. I'll say it's not a graceful solution, but it is working from that point of view. So I'm not going to be too down on myself about it. As we are basically mucking around with code that we didn't write. Right, so that's obviously also going to cause us an issue or two. But fundamentally, we've got a couple of the things working now that we actually needed to get working, which was the resolution and actually setting the resolution, which will allow us to do the display mode and whether it's windowed or not, right? If we want to do that, plus we got our message thing and applied our style to it, which is good. And on that, guys, I think I'm going to call it. I shall be back in 2 hours, 8 p.m. Central. We'll be a bit more organised. So if you've enjoyed the stream, join me then or any time in the future. Everybody's welcome. Hit like and subscribe. Check out the description for links to my Discord as well as my Patreon, where you can support the channel and the game, and also my previous game on Steam. It's a tower defense game. Even just adding that to your wish list would help out a lot. And thanks again for popping along. Bye bye for now.